Kaguya-sama Love is War Season 2 has such a good flow going for it. Every episode feels so tightly constructed as if there's no way you could have reordered any of the chapters or the little story arcs that we saw, because really, the student council campaign and just knowing that these two lovebirds are 100% sure of each other, and even when they get those doubts, there's always an aspect or a character that sets them back on the right path. And seeing from just the simple idea of Miyuki getting a good night's sleep being something that disgusts Kaguya, and she wants him to basically be dead on the inside for the attractive appeal. You then, of course, have just once again a return to probably my favorite joke in Kaguya-sama, which is the volleyball situation where Chika trains Miyuki and how that just broke her. And then she had to do it for singing, which went a lot better than last time. And then just the student council stuff, it's like, this season slaps. It really does. If you thought 10 out of 10 for season 1, this is going to be like a 20 out of 10. Doesn't make sense mathematically, but doesn't matter. That's just how good this season is. In terms of the whole, appearance situation, I could have had an entire episode just with that plot line alone. It was amazing, and it lasted a good while too. I never really thought too much about it, but yeah, we know Miyuki doesn't sleep. He's literally a workaholic. And the fact that he's had a little breathing room, it's interesting how his aura completely changed. No longer had bedhead, he no longer had bags under his eyes. He literally was a pretty boy that was going to become popular. Or at least he's already been popular, but more popular in the sense that he's not this menacing president or something like that. He's just the cool kid of the school that everyone wants to associate with. And the fact that they went with the direction of Kaguya hating that look, that took me by surprise. I honestly thought she was just going to love him even more. And maybe the joke was going to be that she loves him so much that it actually creeps him out. I thought that's the direction they were going. But the fact that she's such a character, she has such a fetish for just him looking like technically shit by all rights of the definition, and how, holy shit, I mean, there's some things in Kaguya-sama that I think, unless you've read the source material, there's no way to predict. And even if you sort of predicted that she was going to be not for the new look, I don't think we were expecting her to go as into the look as she went, especially with how the little arc ends, where because he had to pull all-nighters, he's literally a walking corpse, and she was squeezing her legs. That's all I'm saying. That was way too hot and bothered for a situation that everyone recognizes that shit ain't right. And even her maid saying, my mistress basically has a weird fetish. This show. Don't know how you come up with some of these situations. Some of them I could figure myself. I'd say, oh, that makes sense. We know what these characters act like. So we know, oh, if he couldn't sing, of course, that would make sense for an art or something like that. But to see how far they went with that simple appearance, it's great because they start talking about true love and how Kaguya is very much ashamed of herself, thinking that she's very superficial, as if she only liked him for a physical, not who he is. And the fact that literally it seems like the entire school just knows these two characters love each other, but these two just are so convinced that the other has to say it first. And it's great to see how oh, my friend has this issue. No, of course it's her. She likes this boy. Of course it's going to be the president. Just that back and forth, and how you get all this advice because she is so cautious about how she's giving advice to her. And the fact that they bring in Chika and Yu, Chika basically shitting on her, saying, oh yeah, you're a superficial bitch, basically. That's pretty much how it went. And then Yu saying, hey, this is actually what it should be. And he's all basically pretty boy Otome game in that situation, and just kind of perks the mood right back up. And it was great because honestly, they had a point with what they were going for, which is what I really like, because everyone is going to have some form of selfish desires in a relationship, whether that's physical, whether it's a personality quirk or something like that. And sometimes it could make you feel like shit. You're oh, am I only in it for this one reason? But there's a lot of things that make a relationship, and it's not the end of the world if you liked his bags under his eyes. Maybe to some people that's weird. It's just as long as you don't get him to kill himself to basically have those bags, we should be okay. And that's why I thought Yu's advice was actually really good, and how it kind of just transitioned the mood of that episode or that little arc in the episode so well. And I was good with that. I was thinking to myself, okay, this is good. And then you see our boy, and I'm oh god, this is Kaguya-sama. It was never going to just be sweet and innocent. It was going to have something twisted. I mean, do you remember when our girl Kaguya was teaching you? That shit was messed up. So it's not surprising that she has some more perverted fetishes, I guess we could call them. So that was honestly one of the best parts of this season so far. Just that entire section. It helped that it was so meaty in substance. You start off and you're thinking, oh, it's just going to be something cute with Miyuki's side, and then you get the Kaguya side, and then it's just, oh, that could have been an episode. This could have been like a short anime where you only get 10 minutes in an episode, and that would have been enough to hold me together until next week, honestly. It just really highlights how crazy the characters are getting, and that with each week, they're getting all the more insane, and I'm not complaining, just a little terrified at certain points. In terms of the singing content, I was actually thinking to myself I wasn't going to like this, because it just kind of felt like they were going more musical with it, and I'm not the biggest fan of that type of content, so I thought, yeah, okay, yeah, we got our boys singing, we got, of course, Chika being the little director there. I was like, okay, it's not going to be bad, but I really wasn't expecting to enjoy it. But once I saw, like, what they were actually planning for it, I was so happy to be wrong. I haven't been more pleased to be wrong in quite some time. The fact that they were going back and just not forgetting about things that happened in Season 1. The volleyball is still the best part of Kaguya-sama for me, without a doubt in my mind. Or at least in terms of comedy. I just think it's hilarious to see how bad he was and how it just literally broke her to the point that she was never going to teach him again. And her just shocked being like, okay, you can't be that bad of a... Oh god, he's horrible. And just the progression of like, I'm not doing it, I'm not doing it, I'm not doing it. And he's just trying his best, and then she gives in because he's like, okay, you know, you're just sort of bad. But once you hear how bad it is, it's like, you're just so roped in. If she gets wrapped up into teaching him again, I'm going to lose it. I'm going to have tears of laughter just because I feel for the girl. Even though she does some questionable things, I feel for her because that has to be a struggle and a half. But honestly, in comparison to volleyball, this one a lot more smooth. Like, sure, he had the devil's voice going for him, but he got there and he was able to sing, and it was a little emotional too. I mean, just imagine that. You're this person, they're saying, hey, just kind of like lip sing because you're really ruining it for everyone. Like, I get it, but at the same time, it's a dick thing to say. So it was nice to see Chika not give up, and the fact that she like basically broke down crying because she was a proud mother. Every time she says she's proud of him, I literally almost have tears of joy. I never do, but it's just like, I'm dying because I'm like, this is a character who has such a range in terms of personality, and when she gets into her mother mode, it is so precious to see how proud or angry she gets at Miyuki, and I couldn't have enough of that. Like, I'm glad they're spacing it out. We got one in Season 1, now we got one in Season 2. And if they keep making seasons, I'd be perfectly fine seeing 1 or 2 moments where she gets to be proud and also very angry at our boy, because it's hilarious. There's nothing like overly complex about it, but the fact that we've seen something similar, it really just gave me a burst of nostalgia. Even though Season 1 just recently came out, still, it gave me that burst. I was like, that's what I love so much. Like, that's my favorite part of Kaguya-sama. Thank you for reminding me. And they found new ways to make it feel fresh and not just like a copy and paste of what came before in terms of that joke style. In terms of the election campaign, it's more or less like, that's kind of like the story arc of this season so far. It's like, we go back to it every episode, we're focusing on the election, and it's nice to see this character basically almost get roped into pretty much Kaguya's scheme before shutting it down, realizing that these two characters are made for each other. They are horrible, they manipulate, they want me to drop out and wait a year, not even knowing if I really would be able to do it, if they would help me. And of course, that just gets thrown back into Kaguya's face, being like, oh, we're perfect, we should get married. It's like, this show, it is far too precious for its own good, especially when you take into consideration the first little chunk of the episode ends with her happy that her boy is nearly dead of exhaustion, and then it more or less ends with her being happy that someone thinks that they should get married. I'm thinking to myself, how do you manage to make a character like Kaguya that precious and frightening all at the same time, yet you still want to come back for more? People might want to say, oh, yanderes. No, yanderes are a different beast, and I'm not all that into them, but Kaguya, there's something about her character that just, they rope you in, you get terrified for like a minute, and then somehow you just keep getting roped back in. Not as much in Season 1, at least at the beginning, because she was still more like, she was holding in a lot of her emotions, but the current version of her is just a sweet, adorable, you want to say princess, but then at the same time you want to say villain depending on the situation. It's pretty glorious. The show's hilarious, it continues to be hilarious, and this was a great episode. Season 2 is hitting it out of the park, and I wish I could binge the remaining episodes, but the week break is always good, because you get to reflect on it and get excited, and it's a good weekly show for sure, but that's why I binge it so much, at least Season 1, because it's just such a hilarious show that you can watch over and over, and at least for me, never grow old of it. A part of me wants to see, like, someone take, like, each style of a joke that Kaguya-sama uses, and what I mean is, like, you can look at Miyuki or look at Kaguya. Like, every episode, there's a style for a character design that we haven't seen before. Some are similar, but they have such a wide variety that it just feels so different than the last. I would love to see, just from Season 1 and then by the time Season 2 ends, one image for each character in a style that they use. It would be a giant folder. I'm not saying it's not, but it goes to show just how insane the character designs and just the art direction is, that they continue to find new ways to spice up the visual flair while keeping it looking like Kaguya-sama, but at the same time making us say, have we seen that before? It kind of feels familiar, but that's like different. We've never seen something like that. And then we're like, okay, yeah, that's a standard comedy design that they use, or standard dramatic or normal. But there's so many times in an episode, I'm like, how haven't I seen that before? How did you find new ways to shift up the art style? Was it an anime only like directing choice? Was it something in the manga? I don't know, but it really does show how talented both the mangaka as well as the staff are in terms of how much passion is put in, not only just to the character writing, which is phenomenal, but the fact that the character designs and how they're shifting with the artists and things like that, it's spectacular. And just when you hear the voice actors go in, be it Miyuki or Kaguya, and then you see the ridiculous or just really dramatic or romantic shenanigans, you're like, this show's phenomenal. It really is. It always makes me happy, and I'm always dying to see more. But as always, let me know your thoughts and opinions, be it favorite moment or just what you thought of the episode in general down in the comment section below. And if you enjoyed the video, be sure to leave a like, share your support. Remember to hit that subscribe button if you happen to be new around here. So until next time, everyone, please take care and have a good one.